Hi and welcome back with another video tutorial. In this video we will be looking at Dynamesh and insert mesh brushes. So we will be using Dynamesh in collaboration with mesh insertion through our brushes. So let's look at what are the insert mesh brushes. So let's open this Dynamesh sphere project. Let's increase the resolution a little bit and control click and drag to re-dynamesh it up, and because we will be adding some insert mesh brushes, so that's why I needed more resolution here. So if I press comma key or open my lightbox here, you can see that we have multiple tabs. So for the first time here we will be looking in apart from this project tab. So if we click on this brush tab, these are all the brushes that ship with Zbrush, and they are not in this tab here. So these are some very special purpose brushes that can be used for special purposes, and you can just uh, check these out and see how they work out for you. So if I go to the IMM tab, and you can see that we have multiple brushes here, and they are representing the shape that they are going to insert. So if I click on this insert sphere brush, and let's symmetry is turned on, and if I click and drag on my model, you can see that I am able to place an instance, and as soon as I have placed the instance, it will mask out the rest of the model, and you can see that I'm able to tweak it out. I'm able to scale it up as well, and you can see that this is how it looks. So let's scale it down on this axis, and yeah, so if I just So if I control click and drag to clear out the mask, and control click and drag to re-dynamesh it up, you can see that this is now a single geometry. So if you alt click and drag it on the model, you can see that the mesh is representing behaving very weirdly, and so if you want to see how it's looking, you can just go to the display properties and check this double button on. So whenever you're working on single sided surfaces, you can just click on this double button on, and it will show both of the sides of the model. So if I could control click and drag to clear out the mask, and control click and drag to re-dynamesh it up, you can see that it has cut it holes. When I insert mesh while pressing alt, you can see that it will cut the holes, and if I insert mesh just clicking and dragging without pressing the alt key, then it will just do this and it will merge it. So let's select another brush. So if I click on this insert cylinder brush, so if I click and drag, let's alt click and drag, and let's scale it up, and yeah. So if I control click and drag once, it will clear out the mess. If I control click and drag again, it will re-dynamesh it up, and you can see that we have easily cutted holes into our mesh. So this is how we use insert mesh. So let's look at what are the insert multi-mesh brushes. So let's switch to our this one, which we used for the first video series. So if I press B and if I hit I on my keyboard, you can see that these are all the insert multi-mesh brushes that we can use. So let's check one of these out. So you can see that there are multiple meshes here. We can just, well, these are the curve meshes, so let's skip those for now. We will be checking curve meshes a bit later. So if you press B and select IMM boolean, and you can see that I can just drag an instance of this mesh on my model, and yeah, I just place it on the ice. So let's see. And click and drag to clear the mask, click and drag again to re-dynamesh it up, and you can see that it has been welded directly onto my model. So I can add these however I want. So insert meshes are super useful when you have to, like, you're placing bolts on your character, or some buttons on your character. So it is very important that you can just create an insert mesh for whatever you want, and then you should place it up. So if I press B on my keyboard and I on my keyboard, you can see that we have multiple brushes. Let's check this IMMB parts. So the difference between insert mesh brushes and the insert multi-mesh brushes is that we have multiple meshes here, like this, for example. So if I want a torso for this character, I can just click and drag an instance like this, and yeah, I want to make it look a bit muscular, so I will be doing this. And let's see. So in the last video we covered gizmo, so if you don't know how I am moving this mesh here, you can just check out that previous video. So let's mask this neck here, control click to invert the mask, move the gizmo to the top, and yeah, it's looking very weird right now, but still it's a very nice place to start. Let's decrease the resolution a little bit so that I'm able to smooth. So if I go to my brush tab, and if I go to, you can see that right now it's taking a way too much time to just smooth out the surface. So we can just go to our this brush tab and click on this smooth, and you can see that we have multiple smooth brushes. So I need smooth stronger brush because the mesh is very dense, and that is also one of the reasons that I recommend working with subdivision levels, because subdivision levels make it super easy for tweaking the mesh. And you can see that now my smooth brush is really strong, and I can able to smooth it really fast, because right now I am using smooth stronger instead of just the smooth brush. So super useful and super important. So if I click on PI and go to IMM body parts and select this hand here, male full arm, and click and drag an instance like this. So, okay. Let's organize this hand here. So you can tweak all those meshes however you want, and you can just place those, use the move tool. After just placing them, use the move tool to just tweak the shapes a little bit, and when you're done with it, you can just click and drag once to clear up the mess, click and drag again to just Dynamesh it up, and you can see that you will be very easily able to create your torso, and which is also super useful and super fast. So right now I'm just very loosely just working and tweaking up the forms. So you can see that I just reduced the resolution because it was a bit difficult to work right now. So it is very important that you should just go to the lower resolution for just tweaking all the forms and the shapes, so because it won't be able to mess all those forms up. So right now I'm just pronouncing the rib cage and working on the abs. So you can see that the smooth strong brush is really strong. It quickly just smooths out the surface. So I just wanted to show you how you can just easily create your sculpture. And right now the neck is too short and there are very multiple problems here in the mesh right now, but you can just spend some time on it and fix everything up and it will look good later on. So I just wanted to you how you can use your insert mesh brushes and insert multi-mesh brushes. So if I press B on my keyboard, and you can see that we have our curved tube brush here. So if I press C, and it will just lock all the brushes that have C in their initials. So yeah, there it is. So if I click and drag on my model, yeah, okay. So if I click and drag on the model, you can see that it has inserted one additional mesh like this. So you can see that if I move onto the curve, you can see that my brush color changes, which turns to blue. And if I increase the size here and go away, you can see that my original red color size hasn't changed. So the blue is for tweaking the curve and red is the actual size. So if I change the red size and click on it, you can see that my curves has grown bigger. So if I change its size and tweak it, change its size, tweak it, change its size and tweak it. So it is very important that you should be very careful like which brush size you're tweaking, so that it is important for you to work on it. So right now it's super thick, as you can see here. So if I go to my stroke menu and click on this curve function and click on this lock start, you can see that wherever I move, because this part was the starting end, so it won't be affected no matter how I move this curve right now. So it is very important that when you are working with curves, if you want to lock the one end, you can just lock it, but it won't move until unless you just click on this end and move it wherever you want. Apart from that, it won't move however you tweak this curve. So if you click on if you lock the end point as well, for example, if I click on this lock end as well, you can see that I really can't move the ends right now. So I can move it however I want, but I am not able to move the ends or the starting points. So which is very useful and very handy when you're working with curves, because it is very difficult to maintain the curve. So if I click on this curve modifier function, we will look at curves later in detail, but for now I'm just giving you a brief about the curve. So if we have this curve, and if I click check this size and tap on this, you can see that it has pointy on the start and grows bigger later on. So this curve represents the size. So if I flip this horizontal and click on this once again, you can see that now this end has more volume than this end. So I can tweak it to however I want and click on it, and you can see that the curve changes shapes. So I can just tweak it however I want, and let's give it a more dynamic look. So if I'm done with my curve, you can just click on the mesh, and you will see that this curve is gone. And you can just control click once to clear out the mesh, control click again to re-dynamesh it up, and You can see that because the curve was a different mesh, and you can see the polygroups added here. In the last video I just gave you a general brief on the polygroups and how we can use it to mask our character. So you can see that I can just isolate it up and mask with the rest of my mesh, so that I can easily just add some details onto my model. And so smooth is right now super strong, so let's reduce the intensity, or I can just go and select my normal smooth brush, which I can do this from this tab because we have two smooth right now. Okay, smooth stronger is here, the other smooth brush is right here. I can just select it up again if I want to. Right now I don't feel the need to use that brush, so this is also important. And right now I just want to isolate it up and show that it's growing from the head like the horns. You can see that now it's looking like it's growing from the head. We can also bend it however I want. So we can just keep on adding horns if we want. For example, I can select this brush again, turn off the symmetry, and click and drag one big instance like this. So if you think that this curve is small and you want to extend it, you can just move your cursor near this curve and you can see that there is a red line appearing from it. And when this line appears, if you click and drag, you will be able to extend this curve like this, so which is also very useful when you're working with curves, because curves are very difficult to handle. And yeah, so let's reduce this thickness here. Let's remove this dot as well and click on it, and so you can see that in multiple ways you can just use your insert mesh brushes, and which is super handy when you're adding multiple meshes or multiple complex objects onto your scene. For example, you can see that we have some really cool brushes, insert mesh brushes. For example, if I click on this IMM spaceship, and you will see that how complex these meshes are, and you can just simply insert them however you want. You can see that you can add these meshes very easily onto your model. In the next video we will be looking at how we can create our own insert mesh brushes and how we can insert those onto our models. So see you in the next video.